Hello, this is Arielle from the Inconspicuous Bear, and I'll be narrating the 5-man heroic version of the Auchindoun dungeon in Warlords of Draenor from a Guardian point of view. And to start off with, just a quick reminder that, as with all the heroic dungeon guides, I won't be going over talents or, glyph choices, gear, and that sort of thing, since the heroic dungeons are meant to prepare you, or get you the gear you need for raiding rather than anything else. So, we'll jump right into the dungeon here. It starts off with a bunch of RP that I've cut off, because showing it doesn't really make any sense. The very first trash pack features several different mobs. One will actually mind control members of your party. I forget what it's called, Soothsayer something, I don't know. But need to make sure that doesn't go off. There are two guys that will, so you can see that purple smash on the ground that just happened. That's instant and not avoidable by a tank. So there's some mobs that will do that. There's also a mob that will heal, I believe, and I forget what the rest of them do. But the mini boss you're fighting right now before the trash before the first boss consists of 3 mini bosses with some additional trash mobs. Each one of the little mini bosses has its own ability. The one that we're on right now basically uses Spirit Shell. It's called like Void Shell or something, but it's Spirit Shell. So you want to make sure that you can prevent that from happening if at all possible, interrupt, stun, silence, knockback, whatever. Other than that, the rest of the trash is pretty trivial and easy to clean up. And then we're going to go over to the last trash pack before the first boss. I forget what this one does. I really don't remember. I guess we'll see. Oh, it's a Crusader. Might do. I think it heals. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it heals. So make sure you're up to healing. Other than that, you can see, the same things happening. You've got the shadow smashes. You've got, heals. This is just regular trash. If you saw the very first part of the video, you will notice that I dipped down pretty low on the first trash pack. I don't remember if that's because Hamlet wasn't paying attention or what the deal was there, but don't be afraid to use cooldowns on Auchindoun trash. A lot of it is actually really, really nasty, whereas the bosses themselves aren't particularly dangerous, so there's no real reason to save your cooldowns for the bosses, but the trash can be extremely vicious if you're not prepared for it. So once you kill the 3 trash packs, the crystal in the roof will come down and shatter and stun you. Doesn't really do anything else. And then this robot that's off to the left-hand side will activate and fly over to the middle of the room. The counter doesn't start until you pull him, so make sure you're not in the middle of the room so you won't body pull him by accident when the dungeon starts. So, the first boss has, I think 3 abilities you have to be aware of. First, probably the first one you'll see is a little ground smash that leaves lines on the ground. This is kind of like the whip. I think it's whip. The electric whip or whatever from Lei Shen. You can see the yellow lines on the ground, or the white lines on the ground. If you cross over those, you will take damage. So try not to step on them if you can. That's a lot of damage. Alright. And the second thing, you see that white circle, the white circles on the ground there. Basically, they're like void zones. Timed void zones, and they'll explode once your timer reaches 0, so make sure you're not standing in them when they explode. Third thing is this shield thing that you're seeing right now. He'll throw his shield down and then start channeling an AoE, kind of like if you remember the last boss is Azzakel calls, where he does the channeled AoE. You have to line of sight it. That's pretty much the mechanic. You just need to line of sight the AoE so you don't take any damage. There you can see that I stood in a explodey little bomb thing. And then there's these ones. So there's the ones. There's different kinds. There's like zones, and then there's ones that like collapse on themselves and explode. So there's a couple of different kinds of things. There's like the void zones and the explodey bombs. So make sure basically it's one of those things where if it looks bad, don't stand in it. Pretty much. And that concludes the first boss. So now we're going to pull the trash to the second boss. Memory serves, there's one particularly nasty trash pack in this hallway. I don't think this first one's so bad. It's just 2 mobs. So the mobs that we're fighting right now, these are paladins. Memory serves, they will stun, I think. And then the rat ones with two-handers, will do that charge thing you just saw. That will, like, send waves out from their path. So they'll charge at a random party member, and then send waves out from the middle. Yeah, just like that. So if you touch the waves, then you take damage. It's not a horrible thing in Heroic, but it's damage you don't need to take. And these ones also have a cast time stun. Leads us to the next group. The mages are annoying, and I hate them. They have several abilities, some of which can be interrupted, some can't. That one can be interrupted. This next one cannot be interrupted. I forget which one can and can't. That one, Arcane Barrage, or whatever that is called, cannot be interrupted, whereas Arcane Bond can. So try to interrupt everything that you can from the mages, because they actually kind of hurt if they are left alone to free cast. Okay. That trash is dead. Brings us to the group of 3. These are all mobs we've seen before. Except I think this is a... No, these are, yeah, the 2 paladins. Which one is this? Yeah, it was the cast time stun. I forget which one's there. But anyway, it's just a trash pack. No big deal. It kind of just dies. Like that. Oh, I think this is a priest. So the new thing here is that priest, that shadowy little skull thing that you saw there, I think that's summoned by the priest and does damage if you stand in it. Which brings us to another mage. The spell he was casting right there can't be interrupted. I know that. I forget what it's called. Arcane something or other. The mages are just annoying most of the time. And they're like Arcane Explosion, Arcane Bomb things, or Arcane Devastation. I don't know what it's called. Some sort of arcane thing. It can't be interrupted, and it's just really annoying. Alright, mage is gonna die, which leaves us the Ret Pally. Ret Pally. I think this is the last trash back before the next boss. I think memory serves. Alright, so this dies. And we're gonna loot the corpses. Yeah, or no, there's one more trash pack. Okay, so this dude is just a big... This guy's an asshole. So he does that chain pull, which you notice, which is also a stun. I believe it has a cast time and can be interrupted. I think. Oh, and then this happens. So he does this thing where he like pins you to the ground with his hammer. Yeah, it really sucks, like really bad. That was that purple kind of lightning thing where he throws his hammer down and then starts channeling lightning. It's just really bad. And then you move out of it. But the worst part is he does it and then he grips you in. Yeah, just like that. It's brutal. It's really annoying. So don't be surprised if you have to use a cooldown there, because you really don't need to use any for this boss, because this boss is kind of a wimp. So the boss we're about to fight now used to be super hard, but she got nerfed really, really bad. So she's really no longer dangerous. So you got here, you basically just start DPSing her. There are a few things she does. One, she has a cast time nuke that she'll use on the tank. It can be interrupted. I mean, it doesn't really do any damage, so don't worry about it too much. Her melees are really kind of meaningless. And sooner or later, she will do... Alright, so then she summons this Void Zone thing, except it's a reverse Void Zone, so you have to run into it to be safe. You can see it's like a Halo machine. Halo Zone? Whatever. Anyway, you run into the purple to be safe. If you're lucky, it'll appear close to you, so you can continue to DPS her while in the Void Zone, but a lot of the time that doesn't actually happen. Her next deal is she opens these rifts and summons ads. These ads are pretty much replicas of the trash that you just fought in the previous hallway. Depending on how the tuning of this dungeon ends up being, you can either just basically ignore the ads and just kill the boss, or not. I'd probably recommend killing the ads, because you don't really know. I mean, it could be easier to kill the boss, but initially it's probably going to be easier to just manage the ads and do the fight properly, rather than trying to, control the ads and killing the boss. Because it's not like this boss is hard, you might as well do the encounter correctly. And once the boss dies, the ads will go away. Yay, loot. Alright. You'll see me kind of... Because Sarah has this thing where she really loves Draenor. So she like makes us stop and look at things a lot. Alright, so we have some RP. This dude, and I'm like, Sarah, what are you doing? So there's some RP. This dude gets crushed by a big infernal. The infernals are pretty trivial. They fixate on things, and will just run after them, pretty much. So right here you can see it's fixated on Esoth, and Esoth's just standing there shooting because it's a infernal. If the infernal, like any other mob, gets like rooted or the fixate fades due to like feign death or vanish, then it will actually use its aggro table. So obviously you want to attack it, but it's not going to melee you for most of the time. And you can knock it back, you can stun it, you can snare it, you can root it. You can do anything you want to. These little imps are annoying little bastards, and I hate them. If you touch them, like if you get like, I don't know what the radius is for their little stupid thing, but I think it's like 3 yards. They conflag you, and it's really bad. Because it's like a regular conflag, you lose control of your character for 5 seconds, which is really shitty. These big imps will chain cast Fellfire, I think, or Fellflame, which is basically like Soulfire. It's basically chain cast Soulfire, except it has like a 5-second cast, so it's really easy to interrupt. But it's random, like they'll chain cast into random targets, so each time they'll pick a new target and cast their little Fellfire thing. So you need to make sure that they're being controlled as much as possible, because otherwise it's possible that more than one, like say 2 or 3 of them, will cast into the same target and basically be a one-shot. So just need to make sure that you are interrupting with all of your handy-dandy interrupts, because you have 4 of them, and making sure that they don't do any fires. So the Felguards, the only thing special about the Felguards is they do a knockback. So, yeah. You can, in theory, well, no, you can move out of the knockback because it has an animation to it, and it has, it's like telegraphed, so you can totally walk out of it. But most of the time, it's a complete waste of time, and you might as well just not. This pole is a bitch. I hate this pole. The AoE stuns on this pole are like super good, as are things like Typhoon. Anything that does AoE interrupt is like really good on this pole. So other than that, basically you just need to single target interrupt them. You can see that their cast times are like super long. So I mean, you don't really have an excuse to not interrupt those targets. Which brings us to the trash for the third boss, which is basically a combination of the hallway we just saw. So there's 3 poles. Is there 4 poles? There's 4 poles now. There used to be 3 poles on Challenge. Most recently there was 3 poles in Challenge. I don't know what it looks like in Heroic, because this was recorded about 3 weeks before beta ended. 2 weeks before beta ended, something like that. So it's possible they made changes in between there. Each pole consists of 1 Felguard and 2 imps casting Fellfire. Contrary to popular belief, this little divot raised platform thing does not actually line of sight. So pretty much just need to make sure that you are interrupt pulling, or does it line of sight? I forget. But I think we'll find out in a second here. But yeah. The poles themselves are actually pretty trivial. So it's not like you really have to worry about much. You'll probably need a range interrupt on one of the imps, because you can range silence one of them yourself. Because Face Silence OP. But other than that, make sure you kill the imps first, because the Felguard is completely meaningless to anyone but you. And even it's meaningless to you, because Felguard is weak. And Bear OP. Alright. So yeah, there's the jump. That was the knockback I was talking about. It does a fair bit of damage. So during the boss, you want to try and avoid it. But right now, there's no other damage. And as long as it's not facing anyone else, because it's like a really long range, like a shockwave, then it doesn't really matter. Alright, so we got 2 more of these left. Dum-de-dum. Yeah. There's nothing really else to say about this trash. It's all pretty lame. Trash, trash, trash. This next boss is kind of annoying. It's one of those bosses that has a lot of random elements to it, so adapting to those elements is pretty important. And I got knocked off the ledge here. Well, I tried to get knocked off the ledge, but then I had feral charge, so I didn't. Alright. Something to point out is that the boss will spawn in the middle of the room here, right after this trash pack is dead, or he'll start spawning. He won't be targetable for a little bit during the spawn process, so you want to make sure that you're not standing in the middle, so you can prepare for the boss fight as opposed to pulling him immediately after he activates. Alright. So we're down to one Felguard. One Felguard left. So close. So close. Alright, and Felguard. Alright, he's gone. And I decided to get knocked back. Alright, so here's Azzakel. I want to say Ezekiel, but it's not. It's Azzakel? Something like that. Icicle. Alright, so this dude, this fight consists of two phases. Phase 1, it's just him. And there will be a... he'll turn the platform that we're on right now into kind of like an arena. So there'll be like this wall of fire that comes up, which you'll notice right now? Yeah, okay. So you can't walk through this wall, and no, it doesn't hurt either. It's just a wall. It just looks like it hurts because it's fire, but it doesn't actually hurt. And all you do is tank him with your back to the wall, so that when he punts you, I think it's Fel Lash is the ability that he uses to punt. You don't go flying off to the other side of the room for no apparent reason. Alright, so this is phase 2. This is the phase where he summons demons. There are 3 kinds of demons that he summons. He summons 4 of the purple imps, a bunch of the red imps, and 1 Felguard. Each of them have different indicators where they're going to spawn. The red imps, little red imps have little red circles. Stay away from them, obviously, because they can't fly again. That's bad. Big purple imps have green circles, medium-sized green circles. You want to try to pick up at least one of those to make it easier for your DPS to handle the rest. If you can pick up 2, that's great. There's like a giant area, like a giant red circle where the Felguard's going to spawn. You have to pick that up. And other than that, the boss comes back down shortly after he spawns all of his demons. You can pretty much just straight up ignore the Felguard. He'll just die of cleave damage, and he's really trivial in terms of like actual damage that you take. So try and focus on the boss for DPS. And as you can see here, he is going to die. Don't be surprised, and if you're in a pug group and you get more than one of those demon phases, as I've mentioned in other videos, or other Heroic Dungeon Guide videos, this entire group is like 14 to 14 Heroic, so obviously we're not your average dungeon person, so be patient with your fellow Dungeonites. Okay, so there's actually a cutscene that happens after that boss dies. I edited it out because during that time it caused like a gazillion Lua errors, and it was very ugly, and there's no point in seeing it. So, there's actually a cutscene that happens after that boss dies. Okay, so now there's 3 more trash pulls before the last boss. Each of them are warlocks, and they all have an individual pet. First one has an imp pet, which typically means he's a destruction warlock, right? Right, I think. He casts Shadow Bolt at me. I'm expecting there to be some red stuff. Maybe that's corruption? I don't know. But yeah, there's this Fel Imp and this rando warlock. So you need to kill the... you don't really need to kill the imp. I mean, you have to kill the warlock. I don't know... I don't think we've ever killed the warlock before the pet. So... and then he summons a Fel Puppy. So... maybe it's a Demonology warlock. I don't know. But I think here we just focus the dude and kill him. And almost there. Almost there. Yeah, so you just need to kill the warlock. You don't need to kill his pets. Okay, so the first guy died. That's good. Next dude has a Voidwalker, I think. Or then the next dude has like a Wraith Spawn, whatever those things are called. But just ignore just kill the Warlock. Don't bother attacking the demon. There's no point. You can also interrupt most of the things that the Warlock casts. It's usually just Shadow Bolt, but here is casting During Life, so I guess this is an Affliction Warlock. Yeah, the thing will do a Whirlwind, which does some damage, but it's not really that harmful. And he also does a knockback. Here's another Drain Life. You gotta make sure you interrupt the Drain Life, because otherwise the Warlock gets healed, and that's no good. The Whirlwind actually does a pretty decent amount of damage, so you want to make sure that you're not standing in it like that. I was being bad. And that's why I was standing in it. Alright, so this is probably the one that took the longest to die. Alright. So we should go down pretty quick now that his pet is dead. Cast Drain Life. Good times. I think. Oh yeah, I Typhooned him. That's why he moved backwards, because I Typhooned him. Yeah, this guy has a lot of HP. Like a lot of HP. I don't know why he has so much HP, but he does. Alright, he's almost dead. Yay, he's dead. Alright. Which brings us to the third dude, and I'm pretty sure this guy is Destruction, if memory serves. And he has a Voidwalker. Yep, this guy's Destruction. He's casting Incinerate. But same deal as before. You can still interrupt pretty much everything he casts, so feel free to do that. He also sacks his pet, so he dies a lot faster than the other two, as you can see here. He also casts Rain of Fire, which you should probably move out of. Seeing he's a standard caster mob, so he won't actually move and follow you unless you interrupt or silence him. So make sure you do that. Alright, this guy's almost dead, which will bring us to the last boss, which I believe is Gul'dan. Do this little ring around the rosy nonsense. And you spawn on the center platform. So this boss has two phases, I guess. There could be more than two. I just never actually saw the rest of them because we killed him. So the first phase, he just kind of starts out as a regular warlock, or like just an unspec'd warlock. And he'll summon infernals that will fixate on people. Those are the infernals from, or the one infernal from the trash hallway before the third boss. You can't kill them. You just kind of gotta kite them around because they have so much HP. It's not worth it. So this is his regular warlock form. He just kind of sits here and casts things and doesn't really do much. And then I think it's 75%. He will randomly gain a specialization. In this fight, I believe he goes Destruction. Yes, he gains Destruction in this particular encounter, but he could also be Affliction or Demonology. So if he's Affliction, he will cast Drain Life on you, and you need to make sure you interrupt it, because otherwise he will start healing, and that's bad. Here he's just chain casting Incinerate and doing nothing particularly interesting. Oh, there's an Immolate. Yeah, and he casts Rain of Fire, and just gotta kind of move out of it. Feel free to help out your kiting buddies with feral charges and stuns and whatever, but there's no real reason to. Well, you can't kill the infernals. You just have to kite them, and pretty much anyone can do that. So, and that's the end of the dungeon. Yay! You killed Gul'dan, and the crowd goes wild. Hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck in Warlords of Draenor.